good evening and thanks for joining us tonight here on Primetime Sports. As you saw in the Open, the boys of summer, the baseball Cardinals are playing. So no better team than to bring in the St. Louis Union's vintage baseball to talk about the way things were in the 1800s. What a contrast between then and now. And joining me now, Dave Heim from the St. Louis Unions. I guess we could call you the captain today, representing the squad. Thanks for joining us.
Thank you for having me.
If you had to explain the first question I asked there, the difference between ball now compared to ball back in the 1800s, the way you're playing it, what would be the easiest thing you could say?
I think it's more fun. I think it's more laid back. You don't have the stress of being out there competitive to win. Everybody's more sportsmanship, more camaraderie, just more fun, basically.
Now, your team, the St. Louis Unions, this is basically, is it a North County type team? But there's teams all over the area that play against each other. Right.
We're from Florissant, Missouri. We play at the St. Ferdinand Shrine, is normally where we play our home games. But our players consist of players from Fenton. I'm from Highland, Illinois. Players from the Florissant area. So it's kind of a diverse team. They come in and they all get to know each other and have a good time together. So.
Now, we mentioned before we went on the air, it's not a league. It's a bunch of teams that play against each other, and they're not games. They're matches.
They're matches.
Is that right?
Right. True. And we schedule our stuff with other people, so we don't have a league as such. Basically, you go out and you schedule to whatever teams or clubs, they call them, that are in the area. So.
Now, do you keep score? Do you keep standings?
Oh, yeah.
Or is it just more laid back, hey, let's just get out and have some fun?
No, we keep score. I mean, yeah, you want to win, but at the same time, that's not what it's all about. Everybody keeps stats. Well, I don't know if every team, our club keeps stats, but our club does, and that seems to be one of the big things in our club is the stat. So.
Now, I had a chance a couple years to get out and see this, and I was just fascinated by the whole aspect of seeing no gloves and the old-time uniforms. Kind of explain how long this has been around and how it all came back up to fruition.
Well, I think it's been around for probably 10, 15 years, maybe even longer for some clubs. And basically, it was just people wanting to get together for reenactment purposes, I guess, when it started. And then as it got hold, more and more clubs, actually came into existence. And when they did, then they started going, well, let's travel different places and play. So it's basically a Civil War era type deal where the guys could go out in, when they weren't in battles and stuff, and kind of get a little, fun and not have to be out there in the battlefield all the time.
Right now, is this something that's just kind of located here in the Midwest region, or is this kind of stuff going on all over the country?
Oh, it's going on all over the country. There's different places in California, Texas. Basically, I think every state's probably got vintage baseball, but not maybe to the extent of some of the Midwest places and the East Coast.
Now, when you guys were out there, you said no cursing and everybody pretty laid back, but you want to win, right?
Oh, yeah.
You're out there to win. It's competitive.
Yeah, you're still competitive. I mean, we don't want to run the score up on anybody. We don't like to see anybody run the score up on us. But at the same time, that's part of the game, and we understand that. So we have a good time, and we try to keep everything in an even keel.
As you look at baseball today, the way it's played with the big salaries and everybody out for themselves, and compare that against the way you guys are playing where it's just for fun, and the way they played it in the 1800s for fun,
yeah,
two different worlds, isn't it?
Oh, yeah, yeah. I mean, today, with the salaries that they have, if someone would get injured, they're not going to go out and play because they don't want to hurt themselves. As you can see, I got injured over the weekend, and I'm going to be back out there again Saturday because I enjoy the game, and whether I have a broken finger or whether it's just sprained, I'm going to be out there. So
now, are there a lot of injuries in this game with using no gloves?
Yeah, you'll have your sprained fingers, you'll have your fingertips, get hit with a ball. Basically, that's the two main ones, is the fingers and possibly a hand injury. But I've seen people actually, twist ankles because we do not play on an infield, it's all grass. So we play on an open field that is just wide open. So you can have all kinds of different things, ruts, molehills, whatever, and you got to be running around in it. So.
What about different rules for the game that you play compared to the game that we know of today? Are there any major different ones, or are they pretty much the same?
Yeah, there's a lot of major difference in them. In the 1860s, they have an 1858, an 1860, and an 1862 rules is basically what we play in this area. 1858, there was, if you hit a fly ball and it was caught, a runner could keep running, but they would get to go back to the base free. So they wouldn't have to get back to the base to tag up. They could run until the ball was caught and they could go back. In 1860, the rule was changed where if the ball was caught on the fly, the runner had to get back to the bag, so they had to go tag up. But at the same time, if you rounded second base, you did not have to retrace your steps back to the bag again. You could run from first to, from third to first to get back to the bag, so you didn't have to retrace your steps. Other type of differences is there's a one-hop rule. So if the ball is caught on the first bounce, it's an out. So whether it's on the infield, a line drive on one bounce, whether it's a fly ball in the outfield, which helps take away from where the no gloves, it makes it a little easier for the fielders.
Any other changes as far as like the number of innings, the number of outs per innings? Do you start with no balls and no strikes? How does that all work?
Well, there is no balls and strikes, first off. If an arbitrator decides, and the arbitrator is the umpire, if the arbitrator decides that a person is not swinging at pitches that can be hit, he can give him a warning and he can start calling strikes. Foul balls do not count as strikes, so you can foul off as many pitches as you want. 3 swinging strikes is an out. Once again, the catcher has to either catch the ball on the first bounce or on the fly, or he has to try to make the man out at first base. So.
Now, is this overhand throwing or is it underhand throwing?
It's underhand, no windmill, just straight forward and back motion. As hard as you can throw it if you want.
So it's pretty much like a women's softball, straight on. It's not a loft.
Sometimes it's a little slow pitch type loft like in softball, and sometimes it's a little bit harder.
Which one's harder to hit with that little ball?
To be honest with you, the faster one is, because you see more of the slower ones, and then when you see a faster ball coming in, your timing is kind of off. So.
Now, when you're up there and you're playing, a lot of, I guess, how should I say this, strategy on where to hit the ball and what side to get your runners all over? Or are you just up there swinging away?
Well, there's strategy. I mean, some people will just swing away because the field's wide open. First baseman, second baseman, and third baseman have to play no more than 2 steps off their bag. And they can move when the pitch is in the air, but they have to be 2 steps from the bag to start with. So that leaves a wide open, if you're a right-handed batter, a wide open space between first and second to hit. So a right-hander will, in some cases, try to hit the ball to the right side. A left-hander, they switch on him, so he'll try to hit the ball to the left side.
In terms of running the bases, everything exactly the same. The ball hit to the infield, you throw it to first, catch it, and tag them out or tag the base?
Tag the base for the out, but a runner cannot overrun the base. So he can be safe at first, but overrun the base, and they can still be tagged out. But once he hits first base, he becomes a runner and not a striker, which is what they call the hitter. And then if somebody had scored before he was tagged or while he was being tagged out, the run would count. But if the run scores while he's being put out at first on a force, the run would not score.
This seems like a lot to ingest, but I'm sure it's pretty simple once you get out there.
Yeah, once you're out there for a couple matches, I think a lot of people get the idea and they get to know, especially the rules that they have to play by. So,
what's been some of the feedback from some of the individuals who have come out to some of the matches for the first time?
They enjoy watching it. I mean, they really do enjoy watching. They may have questions on rules because they're not used to the rules that we're playing by. But a lot of times, especially some younger guys, they'll say, this looks like fun, and we'll say, well, come on out. Try take a swing or two. And the next thing you know, they're joining up with some club in the area. Or this year there was a couple clubs that started up new, so they've picked up some players that way. And they say they're having more fun now than they would when they were playing slow pitch. So.
And that would be my next question. With a league like this that you're in, are there any certain limitations on young age or old age when you can play and when you can sign up?
No, not really. There's a couple of clubs that we play against that have kids that are like 13 years old, and they're not bad. They're good. I mean, they're young, but they still know how to play the game. There's some guys out there that are in their probably early 70s that are playing. So.
Sounds like a lot of fun.
It is. It's a lot of fun.
And you play on every Saturday, is that correct?
Well, Saturdays or Sundays, whatever you can schedule. Some clubs like to play on Sundays, and some clubs like to play on Saturdays. So,
what about a website where someone could go to find out more information about the unions and other organizations?
Yeah, there's websites out there. The St. Louis Unions have a website. The St. Louis Perfectos have a website. St. Louis Lions have a website. Or University City Lions, I'm sorry, have a website. So that's the three big vintage teams in St. Louis area.
As you can see on the screen, the website's up there. You can go there and find out any more information that you need to know about St. Louis vintage baseball. It sounds like a great time. We're going to go ahead in a second and show some of the stuff that you brought along, because when you guys get out there and play, you have different uniforms. I mean, this is a retro right back to the way it was in the 1860s.
Right.
The ball, it somewhat looks like a baseball, but it's not quite as hard.
Right.
What do you want to start off with? What would be the most important, the bat, the uniform, or the ball?
I would say the uniform to start with.
Okay.
The uniforms are basically an old-style uniform. Most teams have shields. The shields actually button on. Right now, since I'm first now playing with the unions, I do not have my buttons on. So
if you hold it up,
yeah, if you hold it up,
basically it would button on there. So that's
right,
kind
it would button on right. And most teams like the shields because back in those days, that seemed to be the big thing, is the shields. Now, there are also some teams that just don't have a shield, but they have some lettering on it too. So
now, you ever stick like some piece of metal in there or something so you don't get knocked in the chest with the ball?
I think that would hurt worse, to be honest with you.
All right, let's talk about the balls here. We have two different ones here. One looks brand new and one looks a little used.
Yeah, this is a brand new ball here, and they call them a lemon peel ball because they're basically lemon peel. It's not a two-piece leather. It's a one-piece, and it just goes up the seam, so it forms in the front. And these balls are a little softer and just a little bigger than what the baseballs are today, but they still hurt when they're new and they get hit at you on a line drive. So.
Oh yeah, they are pretty.
Right, and
it's a pretty hard ball.
And this one here is a lot softer than that one, and it's probably been used for 2 or 3 matches plus a bunch of practices. So
now, what's on the inside of this again?
To be honest with you, I'm not sure, but I know that it's not wound real tight, which makes the big difference in why the ball is a little softer. So
we'll just have to cut one of these open to find out. How about that?
Yeah.
All right, I'll grab a bat.
Okay.
There's 2 different kinds of bats, and we'll hold this up. I'll hand it to you so you can kind of hold it.
Okay.
Now, which bat is this?
Well, this is an ash bat. This is one that I had handmade for me. Most of the bats that we have are handmade, are bought from a bat company called Phoenix Bat Company or any other bat companies, but they do have to be a certain diameter here, no more than 2.5 inches. They can be up to 42 inches long. So back in those days, they had bats that were 42 inches long. They looked like a toothpick, but that's the kind of bats they had.
And then we have another bat here.
Yeah, I have another bat
looks
there.
Looks like a Cardinals bat.
Yeah, it was. This is another one that I had made for me because I do not like the knobs, and I'll show you a sheet here in a minute. But I like the regular baseball knob so I don't lose the bat. So a lot of guys we'll see with these knobs on their bats. But again, it was just this is a maple bat, which is what I like to use more than the other one. But I guess it depends on who's pitching. So, slower pitch, the big one here is not bad. Faster pitch, I can get that one around a little quicker.
And I guess when you look at it at 1860s, you got to go back to all wood, right? No aluminum bats.
Everything is wood. Everything is wood.
Maybe that's what's inside of these balls, wood.
Yeah, well, I don't know.
About that.
But these bats here, as you can see, there's different styles of bats. There's the bottle bat, there's the Wee Willie bat, the Dixie Swatter, and they all have different type of handles. This one down here is the mushroom handle bat, which a lot of clubs use different bats like this, but it's not like they have to, but they like to have a little authenticity on the.
I do like the name of this bat. That's a name I would give something. The longer, more ordinary bat.
I didn't know what to call it.
I like that. And then you have some playing cards here. That's really neat. That's a neat layout.
This is something that we want to try to get for the kids more than anything. It's going to be a baseball card, basically the same size it was back in the 1860s, and we're going to try to get these made up so that when we go to different places, the kids that are there we can hand them out, you know, whether we hand them out as a team or whether every player has so many, and then they will be able to, you know, just hand them to the kids as they come up. So.
Sure, that's really neat. That's a great idea. Puts the team, the players, right in the kids' per se face in their room.
And another thing that we do as the unions, I started this when I was on a team over in New Baden, but it's basically a little flyer that we put out. It has basically what is vintage baseball, some terms on the front, on the back. It's simple rules. And I think it's both, this one here is probably all 1860 rules. But then on the inside, I've got actually photos of a lot of the clubs that were in the area. Some of them are not in existence anymore, but a lot of them are. And it's different clubs that we play throughout the area. So.
Sounds good. Looks great.
And we hand that out to the people, and that way they get to see the rules. They know some of the terms, and they enjoy it. So. We also have what I put together a few years ago, which is the Vintage Baseball Association rules. And on the inside of that, what I have done is I've went from 1858 all the way over to 1867, showing the rule. And if something changed in it during that time, I've made it red so that they can see what the change was. And we kind of hand these out to some of the clubs that are starting new, so that they can, you know, have some rules that they can go by. But basically the rules, it depends on where you're playing. Some places there are rules ground rules for different things. Other places it's just wide open. So
a lot of work on your part to get all that kind of stuff done. Also see some pins over there.
Yeah, these pins here were from the New Baden Juniors when I played with them. And we handed these out like at games and times when we were playing special events and stuff like that. We had a chili cook-off over there. And we had buttons for the chili cook-off. Plus the little buttons that we have, we actually use the little buttons because a lot of the guys will wear buttons on their hats. So this is kind of like a trading button more than anything. Basically, when we go to Ohio and Indianapolis and places like that, they will take these buttons and we'll trade them with different people, and they will put them on their caps. And some of these guys have 50, 60, you know, buttons on their caps. I don't know how they play with them on there, but
it's all about marketing, right?
Yes, it is.
Even back in the 1860s, all about marketing. You know, you talk in terms about all these teams that come up and the players kind of moving around. You've moved, I think, 3 different teams. Do you see a lot of that, people traveling and changing teams just for different reasons? Yeah, you do. I mean, you see a lot of times you'll see 2 or 3 guys, and I'm kind of one of them, that like to play the game so much that, you know, I know the guys from the Perfectos here in town. I know the guys from the Lions. And if they need players, I said, give me a call. You know, I'll come over and play with you. And you know, instead of being short, instead of, you know, going out and trying to find somebody at the last minute, I'd be more than happy to come over and play. And that's what you see. There's probably a couple dozen guys like that in the St. Louis area that love to play the game that much. So now you mentioned hats with the things on the hats. Were the hats then like the hat you're wearing now?
No, the hat.
Or they look different?
The hat then was the shorter bill, and they were, well, the old-time baseball beanie type caps. There's also some of the caps with the like the French type cap. You know, different clubs have different styles. Basically, it's just how you feel. There are some clubs that have hats just like this, but then they won't have any writing or anything on them. So.
And a question, back in the 1860s in this area, were women involved in this sport, and are they now?
Women, I don't think were involved that much back in the 1860s, but now it's open to the women. In fact, most of the clubs have 1 or 2 women playing with them. We don't right now, but I know Murfreesboro has a woman playing with them. So does Decatur. Danville, Illinois has a club. The Perfectos, I don't think they have any women playing with them, but I do know the Lions have a couple. So.
Now, are the games done by inning or by time?
Basically, they're done by inning. Some places like to play 7 innings only, so they'll have 2 matches. Every day is basically 2 matches. If you do a round robin, then you'll play 7 innings, and then the other 2 teams will play, so you'll end up with three games of 7 innings. Our club likes to play 9-inning games, so we play 9-inning games over at St. Ferdinand all the time when we play over there. So.
If you had maybe one thing to say to everybody out there to maybe get them off the couch on a Saturday or Sunday afternoon to come see old-time vintage baseball, what would you tell them?
I would tell them to come out and watch. I mean, come out, have a good time. Bring your kids. Bring the lawn chairs. Usually there's trees around to sit under, and talk to us. We'd be glad to talk to you. You'll see what the game was played like back then as compared to today, and I think that you'll see that it was probably more fun back then than it is today for the players, at least.
Money's not there the way it is
now
compared to back then, huh?
Even when we go out, like we want new uniforms or something, we either have to have fundraisers to do it, or sometimes you'll get a sponsor or two that will sponsor you, but they can't have their sponsors' names on the uniforms or anything. So usually it's by a community: St. Louis Union, St. Louis Perfectos, Murfreesboro Clarks, Danville has the Vols, and Decatur is the Ground Squirrels. So, I mean, sometimes a park recreation group will sponsor them. Other times it's basically dues from the players, or some kind of a raffle or something like that.
With this being so successful through the years, what do you see for maybe the next 5 years or 10 years with this?
Well, you see clubs actually losing ground, but I think it just depends on they don't have a lot of base there to begin with, which is why the New Baden club that I played on was having problems. We didn't have a big base. But over here in this area, I think there's a lot of players that would like to play. And all I can say is, if you like it, get some guys together. Find one of the clubs here in town, talk to them, find out what you need to get started, and start one. I mean, you don't have to have the uniforms to begin with. In fact, a lot of clubs, I think, make the mistake of trying to get a uniform together, trying to have everything together in advance before they want to play. Go out there and have a few matches, make sure that you guys want to play, and then start up a club.
What about the camaraderie amongst the guys and gals who go out and play? Is it just very unique because this is such a different sport?
Yeah, I've come over the last few years to know so many people from different places, and my nickname, everyone has a nickname in the vintage baseball. My nickname is Beans, and every time I go someplace, somebody says, "Well, hey, Beans, how's it going?"
Should I even ask how you got that name?
No, I don't think so. But I mean, you get to know these people. You get to talk with them. You end up going back and forth with emails with a lot of places. I've learned some guys, like over in Mexico, Missouri, that they have a Walk Back in Time festival every year, and they invite different teams to play over there. And it's just a lot of fun. We like to go out where there's a lot of people that would be watching, and over there you get between 200 and 300 people to watch the matches. Same thing like we're going to French Lick this year to play over there in June, and they're saying that they're going to have quite a few people there watching. So we're hoping that this will be a time when people can come out, learn the game, and see what it was like. So.
Now, as far as here in with St. Louis Unions in the North County area, what kind of crowds you get here?
Well, because
we're going to pick it up for you.
I hope so.
We're going to double or triple it.
Sometimes we only get 10, 15 people. Sometimes we get 20, 30. Sometimes when we're playing that there's maybe a festival going on, we may get 50 to 100. It just depends on the day and who's walking through. A lot of people walking through the St. Ferdinand area over there at the shrine will stop and watch us play for a while. I mean, they'll stop and watch, and we try to hand them some information so that maybe they'll come out again. So
it's got to be more exciting for you guys to play when there's a big crowd cheering you on.
It is. I mean, it's more fun when you have people watching, because you get to try to make sure that you're showing them how it was played back then. If you don't have anybody watching, and sometimes it gets a little lax, and you start saying, well, there's nothing to show anybody, so we're just going out here and play the game. So
do you find that after all these years of playing this sport that you're still kind of per se learning and teaching other people within the league and the team what you're actually doing?
Oh yeah, definitely. I mean, I think I know most of the rules, but we play between 1858, 1860, and 1864 rules, which, when you're playing back and forth in those rules, you'll forget things. And there are other times that you say, oh, I didn't realize that was one of the rules. And again, the rules set forth in the Vintage Baseball Association is not necessarily rules that maybe the Lions will play or the Perfectos or the Unions will play. They may have their own little adaptation of the rules. So,
do you find that maybe some of the, I don't want to say youngsters, of really any age, come out there and maybe are trying to relive their youth of playing, you know, baseball at a high level? They come out there and they want to be the big superstar. You guys have to kind of put them in their place.
You have to tone them down sometimes. I mean, you have to tell them that, you know, hey, we're out here to have fun. You know, first off, we're out here to have fun and show people what the game was. And then if we can win, fine. And if we don't win, you know, that's not the big thing. I mean, everybody's got competitive juices in them, so, but it's not the only thing going. So,
I can see, as we talked about that future, that 5 or 10 years in the future, maybe network TV deals for you guys, huh?
Well, they didn't have TVs back in those days.
Okay, you have a point. Other than that, is there anything else that maybe I missed upon that you might want to let everybody out there know about the sport of old-time vintage baseball?
Well, I mean, there's a lot of different rule changes and stuff. You know, bases are 90 feet, just like in baseball today. So for the old-timers like me, that's a long way down there. And since I still play softball, you know, 60 feet to 90 feet is a lot different. So you've got a lot more running to do. And I'm not used to playing only so far from a base, you know, and having to move then. So a lot of teams will add, you know, they may even say you can't move, which then makes it more of a hitting game because it makes things more wide open. But we kind of adapt to everybody's different rules. And the fields we play on, usually you don't try to play on a field with a diamond or anything. You try to play on grass. Anything's in play. If it hits a tree and bounces down, you can catch it, it's in play. Also with the cranks, which is the spectators, the cranks can catch a ball, and if it's for the home team, they can hand it to one of the players, and if it gets back to the pitcher, the batter's out. So if they can catch a ball in one bouncer on the fly and hand it to somebody and it gets back to the pitcher without hitting the ground, then the batter would be out. So they can help their own team too.
Wow. So a little advantage to have a crowd on your side.
Right. There's a big advantage to having a crowd there because the kids like to go out and catch the balls then and make sure that they can get somebody out. So.
The only bad thing is that when they're there, they're called cranks.
Yeah, they're called cranks.
At least there was some humor back in the 1800s.
Right, yeah.
You know, and I can imagine we talked about the ball, you know, and I will bounce it here on the table. I mean, you can hear it's a pretty solid ball. You know, if you get hit with this, it's going to hurt, and you're using a solid wood bat. So you're able to hit this ball pretty good. Yeah,
you can hit them as hard as they can today. The one thing that is really nice, though, is not being able to use aluminum bats. It's a lot safer, but still, you get a line drive hit at you, and you're going to feel it. You have to make a decision, and I've seen a lot of people make the decision of, nope, I'm not.
Just get out of the way. They won't have a splint on their finger like you.
That's exactly the point.
All right, Dave, one more time, let's hit the website where they can find out more information about everything that's going on.
Ours is www.stlouisunions.com, and from there, I think there are probably links on there. The other one that you can go to is VBBA, which is the Vintage Baseball Association. If you put in there www.vbba.com, you should be able to get to the Vintage Baseball Association.
All right, Dave, the half hour went very fast.
Okay.
Look forward to seeing you out at one of the games.
Thanks
so much for your time. It was a great show. Dave Heim from the St. Louis Unions. Thanks for watching us tonight. We hope you enjoyed it. We'll see you tomorrow night right here on Primetime Sports.